All right. Welcome to Grok Talk, brought to you by GraniteGrok.com and the Coalition of New Hampshire Taxpayers. We had the chairman of CNHT here earlier. If you missed him, check it out on the podcast. Greg Moore is with us. He is our guest co-host today. Of course, Mike is at the end of the table. Skip Murphy is to my right, because I have to turn this way.
Yes, and I'm off camera.
And you're off camera. And Michelle Lavelle will be talking to her in a few minutes about some education bills. But before that, we have a guest. Thank you, Mike, for booking. A gentleman who has gotten a lot of chatter on the internet lately for getting banned from Twitter. Robert Stacy McCain, welcome to Grok Talk.
Great to be here.
Great to have you on, sir. All right, so Mike, your guest.
All right. So, Stacy's a well-respected journalist because he actually reports the facts like it is and doesn't pull any punches, which, of course, can cause controversy. Exactly the idea. So the last year or so, Stacy has noticed the increasing perversion in our society and the coalition, I think, between the social justice warriors and the LGBT types. So why don't you open it up from there, tell us what you've been covering and the kind of flack you've been getting and how it is that essentially Twitter has recruited your opponents to run the Safety and Security Council.
Thanks, Mike. Okay, on February 19th, my Twitter account was suspended. Immediately, conservatives started the hashtag Free Stacy. That's Free Stacy, no E. They started the hashtag Free Stacy to attempt to get me back on. Now, I had been on Twitter since 2009, during which time I had sent out more than 100,000 tweets. And wow. I was a frequent user, an active user, an innovative, I think, in many ways, user of the Twitter platform, going back, to, like I said, to 2009. I've tweeted from national debates, from conventions, both Republican and Democrat conventions. I've been out on the campaign trail, as you know, from Alaska to Florida, from New Hampshire, Iowa, South Carolina, California, Nevada, all over the place. I've traveled and, have sent, messages covering campaigns. In the past 2 years, since early 2014, I have undertaken a deep study of radical feminism for my book, Sex Trouble, Radical Feminism, and the War Against Human Nature. Okay, and I published that a year ago in the first edition, and I'm working now to develop the revised and expanded second edition of Sex Trouble. And it is a book about radical feminism, and as you know, Mike, readers of my blog, theothermccain.com, are encouraged to hit the tip jar, to hit the PayPal donate button to support the work that I'm doing. And it was my readers who encouraged me. After I'd written a couple of long pieces about feminism, they said, you ought to write a book, you ought to write a book, you ought to write a book. And I, having written books before, I know how much work goes into it, and I was dreading the work, but finally in July 2014, I yielded to the pressure and said, okay, I'll write the book. And I began publishing draft chapters as blog posts. And this was how I got on the feminist beat in 2014. And in August of 2014, the so-called Gamergate controversy erupted, where video game enthusiasts claimed that dishonest and unethical journalism was harming their industry, and the people behind that, the people who were attacking the video game industry, became known as social justice warriors, and one of the leaders among that was Anita Sarkeesian, who is a feminist radical who puts up videos doing feminist gender theory criticism of movies and games and TV shows, this, that, and the other. And she has been extremely controversial and has raised hundreds of thousands of dollars online for her projects for a non-profit tax-exempt organization called Feminist Frequency. On February 9th, it was announced that Anita Sarkeesian would be a member of what Twitter calls its Trust and Safety Council. And this, 10 days later, my account was suspended. Now, was this a coincidence or not? Well, there have been other critics of the social justice agenda who have complained of bias and suppression of conservative messages on Twitter. And as a result of this, the support for the hashtag #FreeStacy to get Twitter to reconsider its policies, has become a movement that has gotten international attention.
Well, yeah, and not only that, apparently it's normal for hashtags to autocomplete if they're frequently used, and Twitter has engineered that FreeStacy does not autocomplete. Is that correct?
That's correct. As a matter of fact, the misspelling of my name, they have created a fake hashtag that does autocomplete. And like I said, it's FreeStacy, and there is no E in Stacy.
Wow.
Yes, try it. Go on Twitter and try it, and it'll try to get you onto the fake hashtag FreeStacy with an E.
Now I get
make them both trend. Damn it.
Yeah, well, no. Twitchy, the website Twitchy.com,
Sure.
started by Michelle Malkin. Well, Twitchy called attention to the fact that when it first started, the hashtag FreeStacy was trending. It was clearly trending on Friday, February 19th, and at about 3 a.m. on Saturday morning, it was taken off. And so this is what some part of a pattern of behavior by the Twitter engineers that has been called shadow banning, okay, an attempt to suppress conservative messages, and the manipulation of hashtags, the manipulation of trending, and the actual suppression of conservative tweets on the public timeline, so that people complain that they can't see their friends' tweets.
Mm-hmm. No, and I think that's true because I don't use Twitter a lot, but lately I have been for the presidential debates, and I noticed that when I tweet out as GranickRock.com with a hashtag NHPolitics, and I'm watching for those hashtags to come up, none of my tweets show up.
Yes.
None of them.
Yes.
Yeah. You like that?
Wow.
Yes. It is. I mean, it is clearly Twitter has taken sides in the political debate. It is a partisan organization that is actively trying to tilt the social media platform toward the Democrats to support Hillary Clinton's election. Bernie Sanders supporters have claimed that they have been the victims of this kind of behavior. One of a Bernie Sanders supporters account was actually suspended, and all the Sanders supporters, the Sanders campaign itself intervened to get that account restored.
It's just a case where you keep looking at this. Obviously, Facebook is run by Zuckerberg, who is BFFs with Obama and all of those folks. Google is the same way, with a lot of Google staffers now working within the Obama administration. Certainly worked in huge parts in the digital part of his campaigns. And is it a case where, why isn't in your estimation, Stacy, why the conservatives aren't coming up with alternatives. Because if they're going to balkanize the blogosphere, right now, where else do we go, in your opinion?
Well, the thing is that Adam Baldwin, the actor, and who had more than 250,000 followers on Twitter, has stopped using Twitter. I actually spoke to him yesterday. And Baldwin says, Twitter is dead. Ace of Spades, as you know, one of the most popular independent conservative bloggers, Ace of Spades, has also announced that he's going to stop using Twitter. And as I've said on my blog, I don't have anything personal against Twitter. From my standpoint as a journalist, I've been in this business 30 years now. Twitter is a tool in the same way a camera is a tool, a computer is a tool, and we have to use tools to do our job.
The same way radical feminists are tools. Oh, sorry.
Say what?
I said the same way.
It's been said that some of them use tools, but I don't want to get into that. The Hitachi magic wand, I believe it's one of the more popular tools.
I was afraid of this.
In the feminist community. But anyways...
this is a family blog, Stacy.
Not exactly. So back to Twitter tools.
All right. Well, the thing is, what they're probably teaching in public schools right now, the kids know what a Hitachi magic wand is before they get to high school. So, I hope I'm not offending anyone, but as I said, the Twitter is a tool. It is a tool that I immediately, as soon as someone said, "Hey man, are you on Twitter?" And I'm like, "What's Twitter?" And they said, "Oh man, you got to get on Twitter." Okay, so I log onto Twitter, and I start following people and tweeting people and retweeting people, and that was back before you had the auto retweet function, where you actually had to put an RT at the front of it. And so much of what is done on Twitter, the users invented themselves, including the hashtag, including many other elements of the thing were developed by the users and not by. And one of the most popular hashtags, as you know, was TCOT, Top Conservatives on Twitter. And this was one of the things. At the time, and this is how early I adopted it, is that at the time to be considered TCOT, you had to have 100 followers. Okay, by 2012, I had 25,000 followers. In 2010, I actually got after a campaign, and you might remember this, Mike. I actually campaigned to try to get a retweet from Alyssa Milano, and this was a comical adventure that took me 9 months before I got some interaction there. But our late great friend Andrew Breitbart was a master of the use of Twitter. And in the famous Wingergate scandal, it was Twitter what took him down. And so it is a powerful tool, and Democrats want to use it to elect Hillary Clinton, period.
And the radical feminists on there, too, have an agenda, which is part of the reason that you got yourself into hot water with these folks, because I think you got a little tired of politics after the absolutely murderous 2012 cycle, and you happened on some of the perversion that's occurring in our schools and in our society, and started covering it, and hence the studies in the book. So, tell us a little bit more about that battle while we've got a few minutes left.
Okay. Well, as you said, if you go back to 2012, and as you know, I was all over the place on the campaign trail. I was up there in New Hampshire. Me and you, I believe, were there in Hollis when Rick Santorum arrived, and I shook hands and made peace with Rich Lowry, with whom I had previously gone to war, Rich Lowry of the National Journal. And so yes, you're right. I mean, after all the miles I put in on the campaign trail, start to finish, in the 2012 campaign, I was ready to stay home, and I've been, I'm babysitting my grandsons here while I work some days. And
you got Skip grinning over that because him and his wife are doing exactly the same thing.
Yeah, you go all the way through a campaign in both Democrat and Republican conventions, all those debates and everything like that, and it's wearying. Campaign work is a young man's game. It's very hard for a guy my age to be out there on the road all the time. So after I got back home, I was looking for something that I could report from home, and by a series of coincidences, in 2014, I began covering radical feminism as a regular beat, and my readers encouraged me to do this. Now, is the recent upsurge of radical feminism a coincidence? Of course, it's not. Okay, in 2012, Democrats used the claim of a Republican war on women to help Obama get reelected with the largest gender gap ever recorded by Gallup. It's a fact. Okay? Well, obviously, as soon as that election was over, Democrats knew that Hillary would be their nominee in 2016. It was a setup. Okay? It was predetermined that Hillary would be their next presidential candidate. And suddenly, remember, in September 2014, you had Emma Watson, the star of the Harry Potter movies, go out to the United Nations and give her speech about feminism. Then you had Beyonce on the Music Awards show in front of a giant-lighted feminist, right? These were not coincidences. The liberal media establishment, the liberal political establishment, the liberal academic establishment, all are pushing the idea of feminism. Why? Because Democrats were preparing to nominate a woman as their candidate in 2016. So this upsurge that we've seen in the past 3 or 4 years of feminism as a message has a political motive. It has a partisan motive. It is all about electing Hillary Clinton. And so, I realized in 2014 that feminism would be a big story going forward. And I got on that story. Well, you know how I am, right, Mike? When I get on a story, I go all in. I go gonzo.
Exactly. The second gonzo journalist in the world.
Stacy, we're going to have to cut in here because we're running out of time. How do people reach you?
TheOtherMcCain.com.
All right. Hey, I want to thank you for making time on short notice to come and talk to us today.
Really appreciate it, Stacy. We'll chat soon.
Thanks.
All righty. Bye-bye. Okay, quick break. We're going to come back with Michelle Lavelle. We're going to talk about some education stuff.
Excellent.